Excited to be here today to do this great panel with Laura. Like Vito said, we're going to be talking about how data drives personalized brand experiences. I'm Kinjal Patel. We're OUTFRONT Media. We're the largest out-of-home company in the US. And Laura, do you want to give a little background of your role at Georgia Pacific and responsibilities?
Sure. So again, I'm Laura Knesbusch. I'm Senior Vice President of Marketing and CX for Georgia Pacific Consumer Products. We compete in household essential categories like Angel Soft and quilted northern bath tissue, Bronning and sparkle paper towels, Dixie plates, and cups and Vanity Fair napkins. And I lead our marketing capability, so we support all of our brands in helping them achieve their objectives through insights, creative, media, shopper marketing, promotions, analytics, and technology.
Quick personal question. Over the past year or coming this year, any great travel destinations on your list?
This is a good question. We have spring break in 2 weeks. I have a 9-year-old, and we're headed to Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
I've been before, but we're going to introduce her to ziplining and some rainforests and some snorkeling, so it should be a fun trip.
Awesome.
Though I am trying to plan a trip to Fiji next year, so if anybody has any Fiji tips, let me know. I've been planning really.
We're going to Africa this summer to do the gorillas and safari. So bucket list item that we're fortunate enough to do this summer. So we'll talk about 5 topics today around our data personalization. 1 is foundation, 2 is data, 3 delivery, retail media, and what's next. So on the foundation part, how crucial is a robust data infrastructure for effective personalization strategy? And what steps has Georgia Pacific taken?
Absolutely. So I took on this role kind of coming out of COVID. So pretty obviously transformational time in the industry. Certainly transformational in the toilet paper business. The things are a little bit more stable these days. But what I was faced with is what we're all faced with, which is massive media fragmentation, more omni-channel shopping, more walled gardens. So the ability to understand, kind of deliver an optimal consumer experience was getting more challenging. So the first thing I was doing was assessing our data infrastructure, our strategy, and identified when I first looked at data, we had a lot of data. We had like 80 different sources of marketing data that we were using, but nobody knew that. And nobody could find it. Like some of it was internal, some of it was external. A lot of it was in Excel spreadsheets, which is really scary. A lot of it walked out the door when people left the building. So there was no central repository. So what we did is we created a marketing data lake, and it has become our one source of truth around our marketing data. So connecting all those 80 plus data sources. And then we basically unified and created a consistent taxonomy. So now you can actually pull reporting across all those data sources, and then we put it in a platform. Because the other thing we heard from the organization was, well, that's the analyst's job. The analysts pull the data, and they give it to us. And we didn't want that. We want people to own the data, to own the decision making. And so then we made it in a platform that was very easy and accessible for our team to use. And for example, we had media reporting. We have an in-house programmatic team, and that team would spend weeks pulling together kind of reports every month for the brand teams. It went from weeks to literally minutes. I mean, it's like that's transformational what that's been able to do, and that allows data to be kind of at the start and heart of everything we're doing.
Great. On the data front, in a landscape where data privacy is increasingly prioritized, how does Georgia Pacific navigate the balance between utilizing customer data for personalization and respecting an individual's privacy?
Yeah, so when I talked about the 80 sources of data, the one source we did not have a lot of was first-party data. So while we could probably give it up some of the other sources, we had to go build it. And as a CPG, it's tougher. I mean, we don't own the end transaction with the consumer. So there's not that end exchange of a service or a product where consumers want to give you their information. So we spent a lot of time really experimenting in what is that right value exchange for consumers to want to kind of engage with you and to provide their private information or personal information. But we have been pretty successful. We were able to increase our database kind of 10 times in the last couple of years. We've now got it at the point that it can be a pretty meaningful part of our media and our targeting strategy. And we've actually transitioned a little bit out of acquisition into more enrichment. How do we actually build more data about those consumers? What are their retailer preferences? What are the products they're buying? Where can we better reach and engage with them so that we can deliver that better overall personalized experience?
On the delivery front, could you elaborate on Georgia Pacific's approach to delivering a personalized experience across various channels, online, offline? How do you ensure that consistency is relevance in these interactions?
Sure. So I'll start with the consistency because this was, I'd say, another kind of foundational thing that we worked on when I first took on this role. And it's what I call living our brands, which is that in delivering good consumer experience, every person in the company who interacts with our brands and interacts with a touch point a consumer may have needs to understand they have a role in consumer experience. And I would say for years, everyone felt like it's marketing job, brand is marketing job, or it's the category team's job. And so we needed to make it that manufacturing understood it's your job because you're the most important experience consumers are having with our products. It's supply chain's job because if they cannot get the product, then again, bad experiences. And so we've been on this journey to make sure the organization understands we're 6 different brands, we have 6 different consumer targets, and that means we also have 6 different kind of brand essences that we want to bring to life for those consumer targets, that people who work on those brands understand that, and they understand what consistency means in delivering that experience. So that's, again, just kind of a foundational thing we've been working on. When it comes to activation, we do start from a very integrated, place. Each brand, what is your objective for that initiative or campaign? Is it conversion? Are you trying to drive awareness of a new product? Are you trying to, improve purchase frequency? And then who their target is for that particular campaign. And then we really start with an audience-first strategy. And that means, we're using all those, 70 sources of data we have to identify when, where, and how we want to engage with them. And then also kind of what's that right messaging along the journey to help deliver that right experience. And so how that's, come to life, for us is, a macro campaign we worked on is Angel Soft is one of our biggest brands. It's a toilet paper brand. And as they were, again, coming out of the pandemic, really wanted to kind of increase and reaffirm kind of their relevance with their consumer. They launched a new campaign last year called Crafted in the Clouds. It features a delightful animated angel and her world that's in the clouds, and it's all about kind of reaffirming Angel Soft is about softness and strength. You don't have to make trade-offs. And it's got a value conscious consumer, so it's very much about kind of making sure you're getting that right value. And we brought that campaign to life across every touch points, starting with kind of TV and broad awareness, kind of with more awareness driving, just introducing the world, all the way down to kind of retail media or closer to purchase, where based on the targeting, we were talking to them more about value and couponing, if that's what we felt was relevant. We were talking to them about scents or different, product offerings to drive them to purchase. And this year we're going to completely close the loop because we are launching Angel on Pack, and so that is happening right now. So kind of completely holistic experience for Angel Soft. On a more, I'd say, micro maybe example, as we get really into personalization and back to the first party data. One of the things we do not have D2C. We had a great conversation up here earlier as you think about some of the challenges for CPGs who may not be have a D2C presence, but we want to facilitate commerce. We want to make it easier for our consumers to be able to get our products. And so with enriching our first party data, understanding retailer preference and product preference, we can certainly serve them relevant content where they're coming to our own properties. But we are also now serving from a national media, targeting these, our first party database, serving them shoppable landing pages, which will then take them straight to kind of their preferred retailer and their preferred item. So again, facilitating the commerce in the best way that we can, but then also continuing to feed the data loop back to continue to make sure we're making good decisions and optimizing the experience.
That makes sense. First party data, retail media is our next topic. I think with the rise of retail media networks, how does Georgia Pacific leverage these platforms to enhance personalized marketing efforts? And then what advantages they offer compared to traditional advertising?
Yeah, again, another great statement. In the earlier session, we have 200 plus retail media networks. It's a little crazy how much that has evolved in just a few years. But we are participating. We do see value, but I would say there's really a select few that we've seen can really drive that true advantage value, and that's where we are leaning in more as we've seen more of those advantage capabilities, a little bit more full funnel opportunities. Definitely, where there's better measurement, that's where we want to be a strategic partner. So we have increased our investments 2.5 times in the last couple of years. I mean, it's a meaningful, I'd say, portion of our digital media advertising, but we know they're not all created equal. So we've created our own kind of retail media network maturity model, and we use that to really assess kind of on 5 key areas, like where do we want to participate, strategic partner, transactional value, maybe open to experimentation, and then kind of wait and see, or kind of not at this time. And so that's really helping us kind of better define our strategy. And then we've been building internal capabilities with our in-house programmatic team and in-house search so that, again, we can get the most value as possible out of these investments. But just two good examples of where I think we have seen the benefits, particularly in leveraging kind of the data coming from these retail media networks. For our Dixie brand, we were looking to increase purchase frequency. So Dixie has plates, bowls, multiple size plates, multiple size bowls, multiple size cups. And probably not surprisingly, we found that if you are buying one of those items, you are more likely to buy other items in the portfolio. And so we wanted to increase that purchase frequency. We partnered with Amazon to find buyers of our plates and then serve them relevant media kind of with the benefits of some of the other items in the portfolio. And again, versus other audiences we were using, this was much more effective because we were buying the people most likely to want to buy other Dixie items. Another great example we have is with one of our paper towel brands, and it's back to school. So if anyone has kids, paper towels are hot on the supply list around August, September. And we wanted to take advantage of that to drive conversion for our Sparkle brand. And so what we were able to do is we just partnered with Walmart Connect on this one. And we were able to identify people who are shopping for school supply or relevant categories. And then we found them off-site to serve them relevant media. So through the trade desk, we were serving them display ads with kind of specific relevant content. We also, we're partnering with creators through TikTok. So 5 kind of micro influencers through TikTok who created, again, relevant content around paper towel usage and back to school time. And then we drove them all to a kind of Walmart Sparkle landing page, again, to the items that we thought would be most relevant. Again, saw some really, really high potential or high conversion rates on this one. And again, we were talking this because we could find those right people, right time, right content, and we did see it work better than other audiences.
Yeah, the retail media networks are getting much more mature. They're adding more off-site products. So think about CTV. Think about plugging into social interest. We just launched a Roundup and digital out of home in proximity, and then using their data for advertisers like Georgia Pacific. So just interesting to see all the off-site products that they're adding in addition to their owned and operated with their data. What's next? Looking ahead, what emerging technologies or trends do you foresee shaping the future of data-driven personalization, and how is your company preparing to adapt and innovate in response to it?
Well, one of the first things actually just builds on what we were saying. As exciting as it is to see these retail media networks kind of continue their full funnel or build their full funnel capabilities, it's also expanding walled gardens. So as you're in categories like toilet paper, these are broad reach categories. We need to reach a lot of consumers, and we need to reach them agnostic of where they're shopping so we can deliver them the best experience. So as that happens, we're going to continue to see that challenge of delivering a good experience. So we're watching and rating. How are we going to get to the transparency we want across the journey? How are we going to understand reach and unduplicated reach? And how are we going to be able to measure consistently? So no answer to that yet, but it's one that I think is a hot topic for a lot of people in the industry, particularly as we get to measurement. Loved the conversation earlier about social commerce. I would probably say we're definitely in the CPG area of wanting to learn, but still not jumping in. Again, our categories are probably not the first that are going to go big in social commerce, but I do believe it's going to play a role in how consumers shop, and I believe our categories are going to have a role. So we were spending some time learning what, if you're going to be in social commerce, what are the platforms, what type of influencers do what you want to be part of, which of our brands make sense, or products, so when does it make sense? So we're very much in kind of a test and learn, but I do think it's a really interesting and exciting area as we think about changing shopping. And then the last thing I would say is AI. I don't know that there's going to be a panel here this week that doesn't talk about AI in some way, shape, or form. I'm so excited about AI. I mean, obviously there's a lot to think about and a lot to understand and risks to weigh, but we've been able to lean in, and I would say just some really low-hanging fruit and content generation, copywriting, SEO, image generation for our e-com content that you're finding efficiencies in a very kind of short period of time. I'm so excited about continuing to discover that. But as a leader, I think the bigger thing we're talking about is what does that mean for our structure, our organization, and our teams, and the talent. Like, do we have the right talent? How do we find the talent? How do we develop the talent? What is that going to mean about the profile of our organization moving forward? And So a lot, I think, still to learn and a lot to think about, but still an exciting space.
Any other goals for 2024 around data or personalization?
My biggest goal is I feel like we've got the foundation. We need to use the full potential of that foundation. So I would say, I will joke that maybe like 2 people were in the data before, like the 2 analysts, they were the people in the data, and I can now look within the data lake and see exactly who's in it and who's pulling it, and I can say, all right, we got 60 people in there. We've got an organization of hundreds. Like there's still change management that needs to happen to make people understand the benefit, be comfortable, getting in the data, making those, being able to pull insights. It's quantitative, it's still never going to tell you the exact story. So you still have to be able to take that and turn that into the actions that you want. And so there's still, I would say, change management that needs to happen in the organization. So seeing more people in the data, being more comfortable and making the decisions so we can continue to optimize that experience.
Lito, do we have time for a few questions? Yeah. Any questions?
I'm curious about, you mentioned the new investment you've added to the retail media networks. Is that net new dollars from the company, or is that just a move of awareness investment into the retail media networks?
It's a little bit of both. So I would say when we first started investing in retail media networks, it was, I would say, more of an increase in overall investments. Again, this was coming out of COVID. I would say we were increasing our investments across multiple touch points at that point as we were looking to drive demand again. As we have really tried to implement this new integrated planning process, one of the big changes is we used to do this for national media, and then retail media was kind of tagged on. This is our, we're going to do this for awareness and consideration, and we'll tag on retail media for conversion. And now we're trying to look at it agnostically, and so we're truly trying to say where's the best place to reach this consumer at which point on the funnel. And so we have seen brands that have actually shifted more out of national into retail media for awareness driving tactics, for more national tactics, CTV or other things, and vice versa. So I think moving forward, it's going to be a little bit more of a shift of where and how to best spend those dollars across the funnel. But initially, it was an increase.
Any more questions?
Just got back from Costa Rica with a 10-year-old. Whitewater rafting was by far the band favorite.
All right, love it. I will take that under advisement.
Thank you so much, Laura. Appreciate it.
Thank you.